All right, hello everybody. Let's go ahead and get started so we can get you in and out of here if we could. Thank you guys for coming. It's a smaller group today. Expected a little bit of it. It's getting really busy for all of us and spring break's coming up, so at least we have something to look forward to. I know that I definitely am. So we'll go ahead and get started. So in order to start, the first thing I wanted to go over was, Dragon. There we go. Is one constitution change. So I'll need you guys to vote on this and yes or no. So one thing we wanted to do for next year was to rename our OT1 service delegate to an OT1 delegate. And instead of it just being with service and vice president, we are going to combine it with the ASD rep and service together. So they're going to help plan the silent auction as well as help plan on the service events. And the reason we're doing this is because we're allowed 2 seats at a conference for this position. So we give 500 right now to the current ASD. So for this person who's going to help both, we will, as long as money is available in our funding, give an additional 250 to that person so that they as well can go to sit in at conference next year with the current ASD. But we do need an agreement from all of you guys. So this is to help someone in the position to gain leadership, but also if they chose to stay in that role, it would make them more prepared for the upcoming year if they would take over the full ASD rep. So anyone not in favor of this, if you could raise your hand. And for those of you that are not here, if you have opposed to this, just go ahead and email me and I'll count that up. So as of right now, do we have anyone opposed to this? Perfect, thank you, unanimous. As I said, anyone watching, if you want to, go ahead and email me any objections and we'll go from there, but it seems as though we'll go ahead and keep that. So next year, that'll take, is it August that role will come up, okay? Thank you guys very much. So now for some quick volunteering updates.
Okay. So 2 things real quick. Hand in hand, I know I mentioned it at the beginning of the semester or at the last meeting. Quick reminder, we partner with Campus Ministry and Ollie Webb. Adults with disabilities come for the afternoon for activities, games, food. It is on Sunday, April 3rd. The event itself runs from 1 to 4, but you will need to be there by 12:30 just to get the lay of the land. It's in the Scott Ballroom in Harper Center. We have been asked to run an activity. I do not know what that activity is, and we probably won't find out until right beforehand, but last year it was arts and crafts. They have requested 5 to 10 volunteers. I currently have 1 person signed up, so I really, really need people for this. I know it's a busy semester, but I promise it's worth it to do volunteering. In addition to that, there is a required vulnerable adult training on the Thursday beforehand. March 31st from 7 to 8 in Riggy 121. Last year, it didn't even go the full hour. It was like 30 minutes. But the whole hour will count towards your total hours served for that event. So yeah, go to the Google Doc and sign up for that. And then we have the adaptive Easter egg hunt, which I know I sent out an email probably like a month ago about this. But again, reminder, it's going to be an Easter egg hunt. And activities for kids with special needs and their families. I think the ages for the kids are 0 to 12. The date is Sunday, March 20th. The event itself runs from 1:30 to 3:30, but we will need to be there an hour ahead to help spread the eggs, hide the eggs, and set up the sensory booth that we will be running. Last year, it didn't even go the full 2 hours, so we'll probably be cleaned up and out of there by 3:30, no problem. It's at College of St. Mary. I've set up a mandatory kind of orientation meeting for the Wednesday before the event, March 16th over the lunch hour in Boyne 149A. I think we've got a confirmation of that room.
Not yet.
Oh, well, I will let you know if that changes. The plan is to go over details of the event, what to wear, what to expect, and to help stuff eggs. There's 1,000 eggs we have to stuff, so the more people I have to help, the quicker and easier it'll go. And again, this hour will count towards total hours served for the event. And once I get the room confirmed, I will send out a meeting request for this. Any questions? There's still spots to sign up for this as well. So.
Hey, Ben, you're up.
Thank you. I just have two quick updates today. So we're gonna have 2 surveys sent out. We're just gonna do an update on who's all going to conference, and it's also gonna ask if you'll be using Dean's reimbursement, just to get a better idea of how many people we have going and how many will be eligible for Dean's reimbursement. So please do that survey. The other thing is CUSOTA normally has a garage sale in the spring semester to make funds for you to go towards going to conference, and the funds are usually they're split up between who donates items and works the garage sale. Last year we didn't make a lot from this garage sale, and we unfortunately had to put it on the same weekend as adaptive Easter egg hunt and everything. And after meeting with the exec team, it's going to look the same way this semester. We have only the date of Sunday when the adaptive Easter egg hunt is, so it would be at the same time. So we really want to see if it's going to be worthwhile to even host the garage sale. So what we want to do is send out a survey, and if you would want to do a garage sale and you do have items you would donate, because last year we didn't get enough items to actually make any money really towards going to conference. I think we made like $70 or something, which split up between everybody. It wasn't as big of the deal for how much work went into it. So we do want to just get your opinion if you would be willing to donate items, again, what those would be, and if you'd be willing or wanting to have the garage sale. Okay. Any questions on that?
Okay, so once again, that survey for the Dean's reimbursement and for conferences so that we have a better idea. Currently, we're allotted for 70 people at $200 each, so 14,000 for us will get split between all qualifying members. So if everyone will fill out that survey letting us know if they are going to go and if they believe they're qualified for the Dean's reimbursement, hopefully by next meeting we can have a better idea to give you guys of what that funding will be. So this is for your benefit if you'll go and fill that out so that we can give you a better idea, okay? And then next we have Ms. Emily.
Hey guys, just once again, here's all the information for the silent auction. I would like to challenge each of you to donate at least one item. It would be really awesome if we could get one item from each person at CUSOTA.
How much should we make last year?
I broke it. Hold on.
I don't know what to get.
I just hit the arrow that's over here. I'll keep talking as they try to figure this out.
Yeah, that's off. No, that didn't change. It was stay both there. You can keep going.
Okay, so NOTA conference is
No,
once again on March 18th and 19th at College of St. Mary's, and congratulations to all the OT2s who will be presenting there. And we also are hoping to try out a new thing and have a social on that Friday night after the opening speaker. Can I just get a raise of hands of who will be going Friday and who might be interested in that student social? Okay, so we got a few, and just so you guys know, this will be a social between us, College of St. Mary's, and CCC. So it'd be really good inter-school collaboration and a good chance to get to know each other. Hold on one sec. And finally, here's our legislation report. One thing I have really learned from this whole experience is to really get involved in your state. What happens is what's Steve's title called? Lobbyist. Yes, Steve comes to our NOTA board meetings and he presents the legislation and the bills that are up and coming and that are being talked about. And really there's only maybe 5 or 6 OTs at this meeting, and so they're basically deciding for the entire state if the OTs want to back these bills. And so I just really want to encourage you guys to get involved in whatever state you guys end up in. And so here's just a quick list of those legislative items that we've talked about in our last meeting.
Thank you.
And for those OT ones, if you don't or know Steve yet, he'll be your TA in Elders, and he's a lot of fun to work with. Next is Ms. Olivia. If you hear her.
Where? It's not too bad. It's all written out.
Okay, so just a couple of dates from HPSG. The spring kickball tournament that was supposed to be in the fall, that's now rescheduled, is March 31st from 6 to 9 at that park. Found out it's in Council Bluffs, so that's a fun fact. And then the theme is going to be USA, so get some good gear for that. And then for the spring banquet, it's April 2nd. 6 o'clock is the cocktail hour, and then 7 o'clock will be dinner. And for that one, it's a Great Gatsby theme.
Hello, everybody. So apparel and clipboards are in. So pickup day is tomorrow and Wednesday, 11:30 to 1. Apparel, you guys have already prepaid, as well as distance students. For the clipboards, if you ordered, make sure you bring your $20. And also for distance, a reminder, go ahead and give me a call for that phone payment before we can send that out to you. And I'll get it to your respected academic coordinators.
We did order some extra clipboards, so if at the end you had decided to get some and it had already closed up, when you come to pick up any other gear or that time, we can have some extras for you to bring your money. So then the next thing that's coming up is we do have nominations coming. We have them both semesters, and so for this time we have President, Vice President, Treasurer, CUSOTA National Conference Liaison, and the ASD rep. So we're going to go around really quickly, and all of us are going to say a little bit about our roles, even though I'm sure you guys are aware of them, because it's going to be up to you to either nominate yourself or to choose someone that you think would be good in that role. It's going to be nominations are going to be received this month, and our next meeting will show you who actually was going to be nominated. They'll give a quick little speech, and then by April, we'll have your new leaders, and they'll run the last meeting, okay? So for myself, really schedule and reside over these meetings. Also overlooking Regis and Alaska. I also invite guest speakers. I create the officer transition that happens in both semesters, and then I work with this lovely group of people consistently. So that's what my role is. I really enjoy it, and it definitely builds leadership skills. So I recommend anyone that's interested in that to put their name forward. So we can have Ms. Alexa.
So Vice President, I obviously support Joe Paul and whatever he needs, you know, in his absence, I would take over. The big thing I'm sure y'all are aware of is I set up and coordinate all of the service events. I contact the sites, I get things set up, sometimes they contact me. And I do my best to keep track of the service hours, and as of this year, I was in charge of attendance as well, so, yeah.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm the AOT liaison. And basically, my job is to get us all to conference and make it a good experience for everyone. I start basically in the fall with the concessions that you all have heard about and probably worked. And I just contact Sodexo and see if we can make or arrange opportunities for us to earn funds. I also host a couple of info sessions and send out information regarding AOTA. And their elections, and once we get to conference, I work on getting the envelopes from you guys to see if you attended conference and met those qualifications for dean's reimbursement.
Okay, treasurer. So overall, it's been an amazing experience to work with this whole group. It's just awesome to get to collaborate with a bunch of people and make things happen in the university. So that's one perk. Especially treasurer, taking on this leadership position, you're going to learn so much, and it's all beneficial stuff. So I feel like if you're ready to take on a leadership role and dive into it, this spot's for you. It's awesome learning opportunities, like I said. Just kind of seeing each activity go throughout the semester and completing it on the finance side is really rewarding too. It doesn't sound like that, but just kind of seeing all the different places that we can, you know, fund, like Ronald McDonald, just all that type of stuff, really where our efforts are going fund-wise. So I really enjoyed it. Again, these people are awesome to work with, and yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, and as for ASD rep, so I kind of have two roles where I am the Assembly of Student Delegates rep on the national level. And so during conference, we have a big meeting where 1 or 2 students from each college, each OT college around the nation goes to this meeting, and we just really talk about how we can help improve our schools. So that's one role. And then my other role is NOTA rep. And so for Alaska and Regis, you guys will obviously have Colorado OT Association and Alaska OT Association. But I'm just able to go to the board meetings and meet the OT leaders in our state, which is a really cool opportunity. And those are, yeah, my main 2 roles.
Any questions for that, guys? And I notice we'll see it's OT2s in here because there's a practicum for Dr. Mayer, so that's where a good majority of the OT1s are. So for those OT1s that are here, definitely let your other classmates know to watch this one. It's kind of important. But any questions at all?
No? That they can Facebook us or email us if they have questions.
All right, so for nominations, if you would please email me any of those, any questions, email, Facebook, or whatnot is any way that we can you guys can contact us. But for nominations, definitely send them my way. Like I said, OT1s, if you would definitely let the other classmates know that these are open positions. Great. Now we have a guest speaker. It's going to be interprofessional collaboration / education, depending on how she takes it. And if you guys would, put your hands together for Dr. Joy Bell.
You just have to control that one, and then I'll control this one.
Oh.
There you go.
Right, how's everyone? Congratulations again to all those that were inducted to Pike Theta. That was very, and quick, thank you. Quick on my Saturday. My husband's like, you're home already. It's like, you just left, which is good. Because he texted me in the middle and both children were crying. So, oh, yeah. So he's like, I'm sorry. I was like, well, doesn't really help, but can't do much when I'm not there. So Joe Paul asked me to come talk a little about interprofessional collaborative practice, especially since there's a lot of second years here. You're about to go on field work, so this would be great. Just brush up reminder. Now all the first years have taken an IP course, so they should have some of this information already. And so this is some information that I've created with some colleagues. You see them recognized there. So I'm just going to go over some of the basics of interprofessional collaborative practice and just kind of talk about how OT fits into that team perspective. So, sorry, you guys didn't ever have me in class, so you don't know that I made you talk back to me. So what do you think interprofessionalism is? If you shout out some of your ideas, I can repeat them in the microphone. Why is it important? What does it mean to you? Why should we care?
Working together with other professions.
Yeah, we have to work together with other professions. What else?
To better client care.
Yeah, to improve client care. We work together and talk about who's going to give the blood pressure. Maybe they won't have it done 10 times, which is typical complaint of patients, that people come in and ask them the same questions over and over. So how do we coordinate care so that we're not doing that? What are some other ideas?
Understanding other professions' roles.
Right, understanding other professions' roles. One of the things as a therapist that's super annoying when you get out is that you'll have physicians that will write really prescriptive orders for OT and PT that are not what the patient needs. And so one of the important parts of interprofessional collaborative practice is you allow everyone to practice at the highest level of their licensure. So one of the strategies is to teach our physicians about what we do so they can just write OT, PT, eval, and treat, and they trust us to do our job. But that trust isn't always there if we don't know what each other does. Especially an issue with OT, right? Where so few people truly understand what we do until they've had therapy. So we really, really need to be educating others on what we do, but we also need to understand what they do so we can know when to refer. I was going to show you a little video, but since we don't have a lot of time, I'll skip that. But the point is that we are interprofessional and it has to be deliberative. So there's another interesting thing is that all of us think we're really good at teamwork until we're on a bad team or until we deal with that team member that stinks. And then we don't want to say anything to them because we don't want to hurt their feelings and we don't want to create conflict. So what we now know is that we have to train people to be good team members. That is not something that just comes naturally to all of us. So it means that you make a deliberative effort to work together and not just get it all in a room and it's all going to work out and be hunky-dory. That does happen, but most of the time that's not what happens. And I know when I went to OT school, I was told, and even on field work, like, you don't talk to the physicians, you're below them. I remember being on a level 2 and she's like, oh, this order isn't right. You need to call the nurse and tell them, or you need to call the doctor's office and tell them. So I call and I ask for the physician and I was like, okay, I need the order rewritten. And she's like, no, you did that all wrong. You do this, you call the nurse. And like 5 minutes later, the physician calls back like himself and he's like, oh yeah, I'll change the order. It was kind of funny. But I was even taught that you don't do that. That you're less. Well, that's really changing. And now it's really, we're all part of a team. We're all there to matter. So yes, our physicians help with diagnosis and they direct the healthcare team in some cases, but we all matter. So why should we care about it? Well, there's something that came out called the triple aim. And the triple aim is really, you might have heard of it, really looking at how do we address 3 really major impacts of care. Because we are one of the developed countries that have horrible health outcomes, and it costs a lot of money to have health care here. So population health, how do you address the health of a group of people and address some of those chronic care issues? Experience of care, which is quality. And one of the biggest complaints at teaching facilities and healthcare systems is that patients get asked the same questions 4 different times. So I only stayed in the hospital twice when I had my children. So I had my son 6 months ago. So I'm sitting in there and trust me, you have a baby, you want to sleep, you're not really getting any sleep, and then these people start coming in. So first this one young woman comes in, she never introduces herself once, she never tells them who she was, even though she witnessed my birth and birthed the placenta of my child. Not okay, always tell people who you are, because I'm assuming she was supposed to be there, but I really don't know. And so she comes in and she asks me these series of questions really early in the morning, like 4 in the morning. Okay, and then literally 10 minutes later, the resident comes in and asks me the questions. And then 10 minutes after that, the attending physician comes in and asks me questions. That's great, and I understand they all want to ask and they all want to practice, but it's really annoying. Imagine now you add other professions to that. So a lot of this is talking about how do we improve the experience of care, and that's that we communicate. And then also reducing cost. So that's really an important factor. And then there's accreditation guidelines, and all the health sciences now have accreditation guidelines, but here's the biggest irony. They're all based on these core competencies, but everyone went and created their own guidelines. They didn't work together. So the ones for OT and PT and pharmacy and medicine and nursing for interprofessional are all different, which is the silliest irony ever, and we've got to make that change. But they're all based on these core competencies, which you see in a little circle. And so those competencies are values and ethics, roles and responsibilities, interprofessional communication, and teams and teamwork. Values and ethics, we have an ethical obligation to treat our patients the best we can, right? So that means that we think about how to be in a team. And interestingly, it's the first of the core competencies that we start there, which is really great with our Ignatian values, right? It fits with our identity. Roles and responsibility is what was mentioned. You know what each other does. And trust me, I graduated not knowing what some of the other professions did, and then that varies versus state sometimes. How to communicate in a team. I'll tell you, we speak a very different language than our social workers, and our pharmacists, and our PTs, so how do we bridge all that so that they know what the heck we're all talking about? So you don't leave the team meeting going, I don't know what's happening. And then that last one, which I mentioned, is how do you be a part of a team? What skills? So what responsibilities do you have to be interprofessional as an individual provider? What do you need to bring to the team? Especially as an OT, what's important? Because you're about to go some of you on field work.
Communication skills?
Yeah, communication skills. Can you give me an example, Caitlin, of what you mean?
Just being proactive in communicating with your
Excellent. Being proactive. One of the things that sometimes we may see is a need, but we feel it's not our place to say. In an interprofessional team, everyone on the team matters and everyone's voice matters. So it doesn't matter if I'm the OT and I point out something that the physician didn't catch. There shouldn't be that fear of communicating that. That's really important. And that is so critical. I remember when I was first working in rehab, the physicians would come visit the patients every 4th day. And they would be like, oh, say Joe Paul, how are you? And the patient would be like, fine. Well, they weren't asking, how are you? They were asking, like, how are you doing medically? So then I'd go and be like, well, Joe Paul's complaining about shoulder pain. They're like, he didn't say anything to me. So I started like coach the patients. When they ask you how you are, they mean, but if I had been really interprofessional and on a good team, I would have felt comfortable to go to the physicians and say, hey, I don't think the patients are really understanding you when you ask how you are, because they're complaining to me, but they're not saying it to you. So maybe asking that in a different way. But you have to be empowered to do that, right? You don't necessarily do that. What else? What are our responsibilities as an individual? Being open-minded, definitely. Especially when we look at different states, different rules, especially when we get to like OT and speech with feeding issues and some of those things. The state dictates kind of which profession does some of that stuff. So you want to be open-minded and not be like, you're on my turf and you can't. It's like how PTs always say they want to do ADLs, but then when it comes down to doing ADLs, they don't want to do ADLs. So they have it in their language, but trust me, sometimes when you're in the bathroom, they call you if they don't follow through. Not always. Anything else? One more? What do you think as an individual you bring?
I think just really helping the other professions understand what OT's role is.
Exactly. So constant advocacy. So helping them understand so that they know when to refer to us. Also, when you need to be a part of the team. We're designing a care process model for the new ambulatory care center, and the physician was like, well, we don't really need everybody there. We can just call people in when we need them. And I'm like, you're assuming that the leaders of that team are going to know when they need OT and PT. Do they know that? Because we don't want to miss. It might be better to have everybody in the room and the professions do what's called a call out, timeout, say I'm done, I'm not needed here, instead of one provider deciding that. So we are constantly advocating. So as you become a healthcare provider, you join a profession, and that gives you an identity. And you'll learn that when you hear about a bad OT, and then you'll kind of wince and you'll think, like my aunt had a OT that ripped all her rotator cuff muscles, and I was like, I felt like I'm like, I'm sorry, you know? So it's good and bad identity, but it becomes part of your identity. And so you have your duties and responsibilities, and each one has a unique role. So that actually contributes to us not being interprofessional, because we get so focused on what we have to do that we don't necessarily think about how we're going to work with others, and that can be a negative thing. So we need to move from profession-centric, where we just think about what our discipline is, to thinking as part of the team. So we're really talking about developing 2 skills now. Your skill is your own clinical reasoning, and then how do you reason as a team? How do you get the team to understand what you're saying and work and make sure you're included as the OT? What do others believe OTs do? Upper extremities only. Yeah, find you a job. What else? Give you equipment. Which is interesting because you think about where is most DME sold? Where's most durable medical equipment? Where do people buy it? At a pharmacy, right? Where there's no therapist there. I've seen pharmacists recommending things, or I've heard, oh, the pharmacist told us to do that. Great, but they might not know what they're doing. So think about that. What else do people believe we do?
The nurse told me that OT was above the belly button, PT was below.
Oh, the belly button rule. So above the belly button. My daughter's learning violin. It's belly button B. You start there, you learn all the other notes. That makes me think of violin, not OT and PT. Belly button. Okay, above for OT, below for PT. That would be kind of hard to do because we do toileting, and that's below the belly button. So you can see there's lots of misnomers by other healthcare providers about what we do. This is just a funny meme that was on social media when the Powerball was. It's just remember the odds of winning tonight's Powerball is the same as meeting a random stranger that knows the definition of OT. And this was shared by a pharmacy friend. So I was like, I'm really proud that you knew to share that with me. That means you kind of know what I do. So it was a good little interprofessional collaboration. Another thing to think about is the stereotypes that we hold of each other. So what are some stereotypes we hold of physicians? Don't be afraid to shout them out.
They're cold, to the point.
They may be very direct and not necessarily very warm. And then you get into the types of physicians, like surgeons versus family physicians. There's biases and stereotypes of all that. What are some other stereotypes of physicians or primary care providers?
Possibly a big ego.
Might have a big ego, might think that they're all that. And that can be true. Of course, there's also ones that are also very humble too. So a stereotype that we may think, oh, they think that they know everything. And we may assume that when that's not really reality. What about nurses? What are some of our biases or stereotypes of nurses? Oh, come on.
Do the groundwork.
They do the grunt work, yeah. Or they'll just say, that's not, I hear a lot, we were talking with the post-professionals here last week, and they were talking about how the nurses will, they're like, no, that's therapy. Like, they won't even get them out of bed to go to the bathroom. They're like, that's therapy. And they were trying to explain, we're not there every time. We're there to train them. So, you know, that coming back at us. Any other stereotypes of nurses?
I think I'm underappreciated.
Yeah, underappreciated, definitely. They follow the patients and they are with them. They should be your best friend as a therapist because they're gonna know, and the CNAs too. They're gonna know a lot about that patient because they're interacting with them. And so, you know, that's really important. Because just as much as we can have negative stereotypes, we can have positive stereotypes. What about pharmacists? What's your stereotype of pharmacist?
A lot of people think they don't have a lot of patient interaction.
Yeah, that they don't interact with patients, or they may not like patients, you know, that they want to be in the basement of the hospital, which is typically where they are, unfortunately. But I know from working in pharmacy, so this is the most common reason when I worked in rehab, I'll tell you, because OTs, we talk about going to the bathroom, right? So I last year at conference, a bunch of us went to dinner, and I think it was about 5 minutes before we told a poop story. So it just happened. So when I started working in therapy, you know, you get the patients out of bed, and every patient that's admitted to the hospital in rehab is typically put on a stool softener, you know, because they're laying down, they're not getting up. Well, guess what happens as soon as they get up? Gravity works, and now they're incontinent, okay? So if somebody's incontinent, they can't get discharged home. So a lot of the collaboration I felt like I had with pharmacists was, please DC the stool softener. They're out of bed, they don't need it anymore. But you would actually see patients that if nobody caught that, they wouldn't be able to go home because all of a sudden they were incontinent. So you have to work with your pharmacist because they're so doped up on pain meds that they have no, like I've had patients that come to therapy and they're so out of it. And you have to go to the pharmacist and say, okay, can we not like fully eliminate their pain? Can they be like coherent? Because I can't do therapy. But the pharmacist's job is to eliminate the pain, right? So if we don't work together, I can't meet my therapy goals versus what the patient's goals are. So very important. What about dentists? Any stereotypes of dentists?
They're painful.
Yeah, they promote a lot of pain, right? I'm old enough to watch Seinfeld, and there was anti-dentites, you know, people that like hated, we talked about hating dentists. Also, very solo providers, not necessarily working with others, but there is so much research on if you don't have good oral health, the rest of your health is negatively affected. So we need to work with our dentists and be aware of our patients' dental health. Plus, you're going to deal with a lot of lost dentures. So get ready, and they're very expensive. What about social workers? Any stereotypes of social workers?
Like super busy.
Yeah, really busy and trying to manage chaos, right? Like there's always somebody in chaos and they kind of have to handle it. My first job, our social workers were really great because they helped us with all our discharge planning. And so we would really work with them for where our patients would be placed, but they would really contact us. Can they go home? What facility do they need to be? And they were a great resource. What about your PTs?
Biomechanical.
Yeah, maybe more biomechanical, more focused on exercise, and which, you know, again, some of that's true, but they may also help you with some of your ADL stuff because when you have a really big patient, a lot of co-treating is important. What about SLPs? Any stereotypes of that? I always find that SLPs really outgoing. They're really chatty. And because they're verbal, right? They like language. So they tend to be pretty outgoing themselves is kind of what I found. So why do you think it's important to think about how we stereotype others related to teamwork? You think those can be barriers sometimes? So if we assume every physician's like a jerk and doesn't like OT, that's going to impact how we treat them as well. So it's important that stereotypes do exist because people do act that way, but that doesn't mean every provider is going to be that way. So we need to be aware of those. So we have to think about how these stereotypes help us collaborate and how they damage collaboration. So it's important to think about how, when you make, again, because we can have positive stereotypes that help us collaborate, but we can also have negative ones that break down collaboration. So what is a team? A team is 2 or more individuals that are interdependent. Teams make decisions together, solve problems, accomplish a mission or objectives. It's different than a group. So you may be in a research group, but you may not be in a research team. Okay, because groups kind of divide the work and everybody does a section, but teams plan how that's all going to take place. So a team's collaborating, which is a little bit different. No, it doesn't mean that people don't decide, different people are going to parse out some of the responsibilities, but a team comes back together and makes those decisions collectively and collaboratively. So there's a little bit of difference. Then the healthcare teams, typically in rehab, you see a lot of multidisciplinary teams where you may have like a team meeting and report, oh, I'm OT, I'm doing this, or PT, I'm doing this, but there's not shared, okay, we're gonna work together towards this goal, or we may have individual patient goals. So we're really trying to move past that so that we have a collaborative patient plan. So that's where we really want to go. So it's from the I think to the we think. All right, so moving not just what you think as a professional, but integrating that with what the team thinks. So, and sometimes that means sacrifice what you think is important or your goals as the provider. They say, oh, I think we should focus on this, but the team says something else. So you may have to compromise there. We're gonna launch a little YouTube video. Oh, you already have it, you're so good. Okay, so watch this. Oh, hopefully there's sound.
It's muted on the YouTube video.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so what went well in that team interaction? What did not go well? Any ideas? What went well, what didn't go well? Because they had some success, right? But then they had some failures. What went wrong?
They were working as a team, but they maybe should have thought through how they were going about the process.
Right, they didn't plan. So the team didn't plan. So they knew they needed to work together, but they didn't plan the task. So it didn't go very smoothly. Does that happen in teams? For sure. So one of the things that often seems like a waste in healthcare is to actually get together and talk before we see a patient and start to try to plan how we're going to work together. It seems like we always wait till after we've all gotten together. Maybe that's not the best approach. What else? What went well in the team?
When they were struggling, someone pitched in.
Yeah, somebody naturally helped. You know, you ask for help and the other members come help you. And that's really important for collaboration, that we're working together. And the end goal is really about the task and not about us as individuals. So I'm going to show you a little fun one that's an example of a poor team, just because it's kind of fun. And then we'll talk about, so note here what's not successful. We're not gonna, oh, okay. And so note what did not go well. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. Okay, so what did those little birds do that was not a part of being a good team member? What were some of their behaviors? You guys are so quiet.
They didn't think things through.
Yeah, they didn't think things through, but how did they treat the big bird? Mean. They had a stereotype, right? So they were disrespectful. Does that happen in team interactions? What about when somebody's on their phone and everybody else is paying attention? That can make everyone else in the room feel unimportant, even though that person may not be aware. So one of the things that you'll often see is like there's no phone rule in some of these healthcare meetings because it can be really distracting and it sends a message like, even though they may not mean it, what's on my phone is more important than what's going on in this moment. So it's important to think about how a team functions and what works well and what doesn't. So teams go through phases, and I'll hurry up. Teams go through forming, storming, norming, and performing. And storming isn't bad. People often think it is, but you have to negotiate and figure out how you're going to work well together, and that's an important part of the process. Then high-performing teams, one, they include the patient. You have to remember that the patients are part of our healthcare team, and that it doesn't really do our team good to make decisions about the patient without including them. Now, there's times we can include the patient. They may be in the ICU and they're not able to communicate. So you can think about family members. Even though a team values all members, there's usually a leader who makes sure, just like in CUSOTA, you make sure the meetings get scheduled, that, those basic things. They identify what's good and bad behaviors that we accept, and each team will be different. They have goals, and they also address conflict. Conflict is really tough. I had a group of students once that were in a team, and they all came to me and they were really mad because this one person in the team was always 5-10 minutes late, and they just thought it was really disrespectful. But when I asked them if they talked to that person, they never had addressed it. I said, well, to be fair, you haven't given the person the chance to change their behavior. So they addressed it, and the person was so embarrassed and had no idea that everyone else was offended, they were never late again. So sometimes something that appears conflicting, we have to give people feedback, or they may not realize their behavior is causing conflict. So, but we're afraid as humans to kind of do that sometimes. It seems mean, but it's actually much meaner to do what those birds are and make fun of them behind their back or mock them or be disrespectful without giving them the opportunity to change. Now, if they don't change their behavior, that's another problem. So team commitments, you've seen this in like research where you can identify times and how you're going to collaborate. And this is something successful healthcare teams do as well. And then they also reflect. You're so good at because you're going to Creighton. So this will be a skill you really bring is how are we doing as a team? What went well? And you'll see there's like these strategies, briefs, huddles, debriefs that you'll talk about. It's all reflection. It's how did we do as a team? What can we do better next time? You guys are the experts at that, so you'll bring that to your teams, which is great. And so this is what you see, briefs, huddles, debriefs. So the brief is before you see the patient, and then you huddle, which is, okay, what are we gonna do? And then you debrief after you do your intervention. Now these may not happen all in sequence. It depends on the setting that you're working in. So you may debrief once a week, okay, but you may huddle every day. It kind of depends on the patient setting. There's examples in here, and you all can send this out if you want, but I know we don't have time. Just remember, conflict will happen, as in those mean little birds. They're so mean. How can you address conflict? One One of the best ways is to make sure everyone's included on the team and not fearful to speak up. And that can be really intimidating, especially as a student going out in a clinical scenario. But you may have something to offer that the rest of the team members don't see. So you want to make sure that you speak up if you feel it's important. And you have an ethical responsibility. So I was reading an article recently that talked about the importance of radical candor. And it's when you're really blunt with someone because the feedback you're giving them, they're not getting it. And the example this woman shared was that she gave a presentation and her mentor comes up and goes, "You were doing really great, but you were saying, and I think you need some coaching." And she like wasn't getting it. And her mentor finally says, "You sound stupid when you say, And she's like, it was like a slap in the face, but she's like, I went and did the coaching and I've improved on my speaking. And I actually sent Dr. Padilla an email after that because there was one day when he was very radically candid with me and it was really helpful. Like it made me step back and go, oh, you're right. I need to change that. I need to act differently. So we have a responsibility to not be rude, but to tell people about their behaviors or things that are doing it. And we're often afraid of that. And we shouldn't be because unless we give people opportunity, and you also become very radically candid with your patients because they'll try to pull all kinds of stuff on you. So it's a good tool for the therapist-patient relationship too. So how do you be successful in a team? Make sure you're having discussions in the team and not a lot of side conversations. That creates and appears gossipy, and you don't want that. Meet regularly. Food is always good. You have food here, so that's good. And one of the things I'm not very good at is social time. That sometimes teams and groups need. I'm very task-oriented, so literally, like, if you come to my home, Joe Paul's been in my house. It's pretty neat. Like, it's pretty organized. But my office is kind of messy because when I come in, I sit down and I'm into work, and I don't notice when things because I'm so task-oriented. So I have to work really hard when I lead a team to give social time and allow, because I'll move on, and I don't think that's important. Who cares about your weekend? Let's focus. So you'll notice I asked you about your weekend this morning. So yeah, I've really been working on it. Okay, so what do you foresee as we close? Biggest challenge for OT or you as an individual for collaboration? What do you think are some of the challenges you're going to face as we come to a close?
Maybe having the courage to speak up in those big.
Yeah, being courageous. And some of it will be courageous at the beginning, especially when you're new and you're new to the team and not being afraid. When I had my first job, I was part of a wonderful interprofessional team where I had a great physician. And I remember this one lady kept complaining about her arm and how she swore she had a rotator cuff tear. And he's like, well, let's just MRI her arm to prove her wrong. So, you know, like he did, and he was like, it was great that he listened to the therapist because she was not listening to any of us, that there was nothing wrong with her arm, and she refused to move it. So he's like, well, let's show her the evidence. And so it was really great that he listened to us, and it made me feel really empowered. I felt like, oh, I bring something here, and they're listening to me. So that's really important. What else?
I think not understanding one another's roles is like one of the biggest issues, and not living up the stereotypes that people have.
Right. So one is not understanding, and then like, you know, not moving past those stereotypes. So make it a duty when you go to field to learn about what other people do. Ask questions because you don't necessarily, you might be surprised. Like pharmacists do a lot more than I even realized when I graduated. So we get a lot of OT and PT, but you may not realize what some of the other professions do. So we have a little bit of a duty to do that. Now, it's nice, and we're moving the direction where that training comes in your education, but that's just not the way it has been. So people aren't used to that. What do you think OTs bring that's unique to the collaborative process? We're very holistic, yeah. Also, we deal with the day-to-day, and we like small wins. And that can be really important in a team, that you accomplish something small. I was just thumbing through my OT practice, and they were asking, what are the best memories you have? And it was little things, helping a person hug their daughter, helping a patient walk their daughter down the aisle. Those seem like so small, but they're incredibly meaningful. And OTs are very good about finding the small wins. And I think that's a great thing that we bring to a team. We tend to be very positive, sometimes to an annoying level, but we always find potential. And that's really helpful in a team of healthcare providers who are trained to find things wrong. So we can be that positive level. So here's some resources for you. There's a couple great TED Talks here and some other fun YouTube videos, but if you're interested more about interprofessional, there's some great resources. I just want to thank Joe Paul for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Dalton. For everyone, real quick, before you head out, meeting password for those watching online is nominate. And the last piece is Wednesday, April 6th, we were supposed to have a meeting that we're going to cancel, so you might want to put this in your calendar. It's not going to be a required meeting, it's going to be an optional meeting where we're going to try and bring in people for interview skills and possibly set up time slots so we can do mock interviews to prepare for our life ahead of us. So we may send out a survey on that, but just so you guys know, it's not a required meeting. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Good luck on your field works for those that are leaving, and enjoy spring break. Be safe.